The top 2 feet of the stone, which is 10 foot tall and 3 feet wide and 1 foot thick, illustrates and documents the arrival of Christian missionaries, Syriac-speaking missionaries, in China between the 7th and 10th century. Roughly translated, this means a memorial to the luminous religion of Da Qin, propagated in China. At the very top of the stone, we see a pearl. This is the pearl of great price, referring to Jesus Christ, surrounded and held up by 2 dragons, the symbols of power in Chinese culture. This stone was erected by Syriac-speaking Christians in the 8th century. These Christians were proud of their accomplishments and their impact they had on Chinese culture. For 35 years, I have been researching and writing and investigating the subject of Christianity in China. I have written several books on the subject. This work has led me to 3 theories about the presence of Christianity in China. Christianity had a profound influence on Chinese religions, and those religions, especially Buddhism, had an influence on Christianity in China. Christianity in China also morphed into an indigenous Christian religion, often referred to Jingjiao, and we see these words in Chinese on the stone, Jingjiao. The so-called Nestorian Church, basically a misnomer, was not a monolithic or exclusive representative of Christianity in China in the first millennium. It was a mixture of other Oriental Syriac sects who sent and established missions and churches in China: Jacobite, Syrian Orthodox, Melkites, and others. The historical imagination about Christianity is dominated by a primary piece of evidence that you see before you. I have studied for the past several years the Shianfu Stone, sometimes referred to as the Nestorian Monument, inscribed in both Chinese and Syriac, an Aramaic dialect, and it appears to tell the story of the Syriac-speaking church in China. But close study of the text offers us clues that this church in the diaspora drifted to a more indigenous form, and archaeological evidence points to ecumenical inclusiveness. My study of Christianity in China has gone through 3 stages. First, I have read the primary documents, giving a general knowledge of what historians, linguists, and theologians have thought about Christian history in China. Second, this has led to the development of an evolving thesis about Christianity in China, leading to the proposition that Christianity of Syriac origin morphed into a Sino-Asian form that did not fully reflect its Middle East origins, or theology, in fact. Finally, this led to an actual search and investigation on the ground in China of potential archaeological sites on the Silk Road. I have reconsidered the basic translations of this stone, especially the Syriac and Chinese names, in the main body of the stele, which is a reference to many churches and monasteries that were once in China during the Tang Dynasty. A Japanese scholar by the name of Saiki and others have read these names on this stone as alternative Chinese names corresponding to Syriac names. So far, I have identified these Chinese names, about 66, as names of places such as cities and names of famous temples and regions. These were clues that helped lead my study and journey and investigations in China over the course of 5 years. These are clues that I look for, places where there were possible churches or monastery sites, and I found several. I have stood and prayed in the cave of the Church of St. Peter and Paul in Antioch. I have translated Syriac Gospels and liturgical texts in monasteries in Diyarbakir, Midyat, and Mardin, and in the region known as Tur-Abdin, which is very close in my heart. Tur-Abdin is nestled within the arms of the Tigris River. I have visited museums and consulted scholars in former ancient capitals of China, such as Luoyang and Xi'an. I have investigated graveyards from Beijing to Yinchuan to Dongguan. None of this makes me an expert, but the power of experience and walking in the footsteps of pioneers who journeyed along the Silk Road have given me an authority that few can match. And yet, I see myself simply as one who points the way to those more educated, more intelligent, and perhaps more experienced to confirm, deny, or push the evidence to new levels. The Lord said to Abraham, "Leave your country, your people, and your father's house, and go to a land I will show you." This has been a command to Christians to go into all the world and share the message of Jesus Christ. This is a pattern in human paradigm. Trade in goods is followed by trade in ideas. Goods blaze a way for the fires of faith. Abraham followed the trade routes along the Fertile Crescent. Likewise, as religions emerged in the Middle East, Christianity, Manichaeism, Islam, they followed the Silk Road east. This is the bulk of Christian history, unlike we read about the history of Christianity in the West. The ships of faith, these great martyrs and great apostolic geniuses, filled their sails with the winds of persecution, proselyting, and they searched for prosperity in faith. But they were also driven by conflict, the madness of their own certitude, and the welcoming leaders of China, who were hungry for new ideas and thirsty with curiosity about the outside world. A recapitulation of this pattern is seen in the development of the American West. Hunters and trappers blazed trails through the forests, deserts, and mountains of the American West to the Pacific Ocean. These egocentric men held great trading parties in the mountain meadows of the Rocky Mountains. Men traded with indigenous people of the First Nations. This was followed by Christian missionaries, guided by a moral compass and a mission to inseminate the new Netherland with new values and mores, to preserve an emerging American culture in the New World. Missionaries followed merchants upon the established trade routes, and so it was on the Silk Road, the same pattern. Likewise, at least by 432 AD, Christian missionaries began to appear on the Silk Road. During this time, Roman Catholic Church banned the Nestorian sect of Christianity in Europe, so the Nestorian, Syriac-speaking believers fled toward the east. Merchants and missionaries under the shadow of the cross helped transmit Christian beliefs along the Silk Road. In 638, the first official Syriac-speaking church was built in Chang'an, which today we call Xi'an, the capital of China. Other Christian sects and missionaries, such as Melkites, Jacobites, and others, also fled east. Along the way to China, these Christians left evidence of their writings in caves and temples, especially beyond the great Gobi Desert. and in the areas near a place called Dongguan. The Silk Road was a hodgepodge of toll roads controlled by many ethnicities. It was not always open or continuous, although since the Han Dynasty it was protected by guard posts on many of its trading points. In 630, the Silk Road was reopened for a long period of prosperity, and travel between east and west resumed. The Tang Dynasty was a golden age in Chinese history, where there was an inclusive policy of tolerance and interest in welcoming and fostering foreign religions, especially Syriac-speaking Christianity. In 638, a bishop by the name of Alopen from the Assyrian Church of the East completed a Chinese gospel. It was called the Sutra of Jesus the Messiah. It is not exactly the New Testament, but Christianity, through this work and this translation, became semi-official, although minor religions in China often rejected it and fought against it. Nevertheless, Christianity received state support and rights to build in the capital city and other locations. Eventually, they spread over 30 provinces, all the provinces, in fact, of China. And Christians, Syriac churches were given prominent roles in the Tang Dynasty.
She